The 2026 Formula One preseason testing just began in Bahrain, and Ferrari has already done the impossible. In the last 24 hours, as reported by Sport Bible, Lewis Hamilton's SF26 displayed a mechanical trick so controversial that the reaction from the pit lane was immediate and furious. Laurent Mekies marched into the FIA delegate's office with a printed copy of the regulations just 20 minutes after the session ended. According to Win Calendar, it is Thursday, February 19, 2026, and the second day of preseason testing at the Bahrain International Circuit turned into a political war zone. The sport just underwent its biggest technical overhaul in history, introducing 50/50 electric combustion power units and the new active aerodynamic system. For months, engineers and fans debated how the new straight mode and corner mode wing configurations would work. Everyone expected the controversy to center on the engines. In fact, reports surfaced weeks ago that Mercedes found a controversial way to manipulate engine compression ratios, drawing ire from Red Bull and Ferrari. While the grid focused on horsepower figures, Ferrari's engineers in Maranello stared at a completely different page of the rulebook. Yesterday, as Lewis Hamilton engaged the new manual override system on the main straight, onboard cameras caught a controversial detail at the rear of the car. It wasn't the main wing, but rather a hidden flap positioned directly in front of the exhaust exit. This is the story of the inverted wing loophole, a gray area in the 2026 regulations that nobody else saw coming, and how Fred Vasseur might have handed Hamilton his record-breaking 8th title before the first race even starts. The moment happened at 10:45 a.m. local time during Hamilton's 4th run of the morning session. As the SF26 crossed the start-finish line and the new override light flashed on the steering wheel, the rear wing's upper element began its transition into low-drag X mode. On every other car, like the Red Bull or Mercedes, this flap simply flattens out to reduce air resistance. On the Ferrari yesterday, as Lewis Hamilton engaged the new manual override system, onboard cameras caught the new exhaust wing element working with the diffuser. It flattened out efficiently and stabilized the airflow. The drag numbers dropped instantly. Speed trap data showed Hamilton was competitive, though still trailing the Mercedes of George Russell, who topped the timesheets. It looked like a glitch in the broadcast, but slow-motion replays confirmed it. Technical analyst Sam Collins was the first to spot why this is happening, and his explanation highlights a stunning oversight in the FIA's 2026 drafting process. The new Article 3.10.10 regarding driver-adjustable bodywork specifies the exact coordinates for the wing elements. It also defines the maximum gap and angle changes allowed. However, the text never explicitly states that the wing profile must maintain its original orientation relative to the ground. The rulebook dictates where the wing can be, but not which way it has to face. While the grid focused on horsepower figures, Ferrari's engineers in Maranello refined a new secret rear exhaust flap. Yesterday, onboard cameras caught the rear of the car utilizing this FTM flap to energize the diffuser. They followed the letter of the law perfectly while completely destroying its spirit. If you find this loophole breakdown interesting, hit subscribe and the notification bell right now as we cover breaking F1 technical stories like this every single week. Now, we return to how the FIA is reacting to the engine compression controversy. The reaction from the pit lane was immediate and furious. Rival team principals marched into the FIA delegate's office. Laurent Mekies of Red Bull held a printed copy of the regulations just 20 minutes after the session ended. The argument from Red Bull and Mercedes is that this constitutes a dangerous construction under Article 1.4, claiming that an inverted wing could cause instability if the actuation mechanism fails. But Ferrari came prepared. Fred Vasseur smiled calmly outside the garage, telling reporters that they had cleared the mechanism with the technical delegates back in January. Since the mechanism is strong and the car is stable, there is no safety ground to ban it. The panic in the Mercedes garage is clear. They spent the winter worrying about engine compression ratios, only to find themselves obsolete on the straights before the first Grand Prix. If they can't block this politically, they will have to redesign their entire rear impact structure to copy it, which could take months. For Lewis Hamilton, this technical advantage seems to be the final piece of the puzzle he was missing. After struggling with the ground effect cars of the previous era, Planet F1 reports that he described the SF26 as the first car in years that feels connected to his driving style. In the press conference today, he couldn't hide his optimism. When asked about the car, he gave a mixed verdict, noting it is fun to drive, but feels slower than Formula 2 right now due to less downforce. That statement alone should terrify the grid. Hamilton isn't just fast, he is comfortable. The 2026 regulations were supposed to level the playing field with lighter, simpler cars. But as Lewis Hamilton engaged the new manual override system today, it became clear the racing is effectively over. The data from his long runs this afternoon confirms that the tire degradation is also lower, likely because the car isn't fighting the air as hard on the straights. The rear wing isn't the only trick Ferrari revealed in Bahrain. Observers from the race also noticed a strange new exhaust wing element, mounted just below the main crash structure. The 2026 rules removed the MGU-H, meaning the turbocharger is now spinning freely, and wastegate gases are more significant. Ferrari routed their exhaust exit to blow directly over a small, heat-resistant winglet that sits in the center of the diffuser. This is a modern interpretation of the blown diffuser concepts from the early 2010s. By using the high-energy exhaust gases to energize the airflow at the back of the car, they are clawing back the downforce lost by the new restrictive floor regulations. While everyone else tried to make their electric motors more efficient, Ferrari found a way to turn waste gas into grip. It explains why the car looks so planted through the twisty middle sector of the Bahrain track, even before they unleashed the top speed on the straights. To understand why this aero trick is so devastating, you have to look at the engine reality for 2026. According to the FIA, the new power units are split 50-50 between the internal combustion engine and the electrical system. The total power is around 1,000 horsepower, but the battery drains much faster than in previous years. Once the battery is empty, the car loses nearly 470 horsepower instantly. This creates a phenomenon known as clipping, where the car stops accelerating at the end of straights. Yesterday, as Lewis Hamilton engaged the new manual override system, observers noticed a unique exhaust wing flap that rivals hadn't anticipated. Because the car has so little drag, it requires less energy to maintain top speed. This means Hamilton can save his battery power for the next lap, while his rivals are draining theirs just to keep up. It creates a virtuous cycle where he is faster on the straights, has more battery left for the corners, and puts less stress on the combustion engine. It is a complete advantage that goes far beyond just a clever mechanical hinge. The big question now is whether the SF26 will make it to the starting grid in Melbourne with this system intact. The FIA has a history of banning innovations that they deem against the good of the sport, even if they are technically legal. We saw it with the DAS system in 2020, and, as Sky Sports noted, the F-duct in 2010. However, the governance structure for 2026 requires a supermajority to change the rules mid-season, unless it is a safety issue. Ferrari and Haas will likely vote to keep it, but Sauber, now the Audi factory team, might oppose it. That leaves the FIA with only one option, which is proving it is unsafe. But as Vasseur pointed out, movable aero is now a mandated part of the regulations. They can't ban moving wings because the rules require moving wings. They can only argue about the degree of rotation. The rear wing's upper element began its transition into low-drag X mode. On every other car, this flap simply opens to reduce air resistance. This discovery changes the entire trajectory of the 2026 World Championship. If this loophole stands, we are looking at a season where qualifying pole position might be decided by technical interpretation rather than driver skill. For the viewers, it means the opening race in Australia could be a procession if the other teams cannot bring a copycat solution in time. In the long term, it exposes the fragility of the new regulations. The 2026 rules were written to simplify the cars and reduce dirty air, but by allowing active aerodynamics, the regulators opened a box of complexity. Every team is now going to scour the document for similar wording errors. We might see side pods that retract, floors that flex, or cooling louvers that act as air brakes. Ferrari just proved that no matter how tight the rules are, human ingenuity will always find a way to break them. The inverted wing is not just a car part, it is a statement that the Scuderia is back to its ruthless best. Whether the FIA bans it tomorrow or lets it run all season, Ferrari has already won the psychological war. The SF26 is the car everyone is watching. If you want to stay updated on the inevitable protest and the FIA's final ruling, make sure you're subscribed. Thanks for watching.